Sunny bhai, coming back to the question, looking at various factors, one very interesting bit is that India have played a game here versus Bangladesh and they won that close encounter. England, mind you, haven't played a single game at the Adelaide Oval during this tournament. That also goes in India's favour, you reckon?
Well, I think as far as India is concerned, they'll have the advantage of knowing what the pitch is doing. They also have the advantage of knowing about the outfield. Look, even on the outfield, you sometimes think there's nothing important about the outfield, but there are certain slopes which come up with the rolling or not being rolled, and therefore there will be sometimes the bump, which for a fielder can be a bit difficult. So clearly, I think India having played here when the outfield was dry and when the outfield was wet, has certainly a lot of experience there for the Indian team.
Just to take that question forward, Harbhajan, we heard from Sunny bhai how much of a difference it will make that India have already played in Adelaide. What do you reckon? Because plenty spoken about Adelaide's condition. It's a spin-friendly track compared to all other stadiums that you get in Australia, maybe Sydney, Adelaide, two spin-friendly tracks. The other thing that we see, the square boundaries are short, unlike all the other stadiums that we get. The conditions in Adelaide, who do you think that's going to suit more, India or England?
I think if the ball swing, if the wicket allow the ball to swing, then this Indian bowling lineup with Bhuvneshwar Kumar, Arshdeep, obviously they are very, very lethal up front with the new ball. But what I have heard, the condition in Adelaide is going to be totally different. What we have seen in Melbourne. Melbourne obviously ball does quite a bit. We have seen there's a lot of swing, bounce, but Adelaide is kind of a very, very good wicket to bat on. So we might not get to see a lot of swing there. So India need to use a different method then. Obviously, when the ball doesn't swing, as a bowler, you tend to pull your length little back. But all I want to say that don't be afraid to bowl slightly up with the new ball. Try to still find a little bit swing early in the inning to get past of Butler, because Butler is one of the key player of England side, and you want to get him early. So that's something is very, very important. If the ball swings, we are good. If the ball doesn't swing, then we have to be very careful from this batting lineup of England.
Okay, on the subject of conditions, Pragyan, what do you reckon? One thing is certain, we heard from Harbhajan as well. He says this is one of the most batting-friendly tracks in Australia. You're not going to see the ball swing a lot. All that in mind, a batting-friendly track would suit which team more? India, which likes such conditions, or England, which have a very strong batting lineup?
Both the teams have a good batting lineup. They can, we have seen what both the teams can do on a given day. But then the case comes down to which bowling attack bowls well, which bowling team adapts to the situation well. So the bowling team that does better will have advantage, because for batting, the wicket will help both the teams. But it is the bowling unit which does better. Saying that, maybe England will be a little worried about Mark Woods, because what I'm hearing is he may not be available. That will be a big blow for them, because he's a guy who can bowl those 150 plus deliveries, 145, 150. And, at that pace, even if the ball is not swinging, it can trouble the batsman. But because of his unavailability, maybe that will be an advantage for Indian team, because maybe someone like Chris Jordan will walk in, and Indians know what are the strengths of Chris Jordan and what best he can offer. He's not a quick bowler. He's a guy who plays around with angles, but he cannot fill the shoes of Mark Woods. That is something which England will be thinking about.
Okay. Sunny bhai, because talking about the conditions, one thing which is very peculiar here in Adelaide, I've been to Perth, I've been to Melbourne, big grounds, and the square boundaries are also pretty big. What you see, which is very different here in Adelaide, the straight boundaries are long, yes, but the square boundaries sometimes are short. How do you think that will play out? Will India look at it as an advantage considering they are used to shorter boundaries back home? Or do you think, no, the English batting will also enjoy such short boundaries? How do you see that play out in this game?
I would imagine that the bigger advantage would be with the England team. Because England's got some really big shot-making players, guys who can play the square boundaries, use the square boundaries well. So India will have to bowl really well, not give them the opportunity to make use or take advantage of the short square boundaries.